How many have you forgiven today? Chapter 17, Part 2.
It's nice having your company, Fluttershy. Everyone has gone off to do their own thing, and I'm left here by my lonesome. I know how that feels, though being alone doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Well, for someone as old as I, being alone is more of a punishment than anything else.
Fluttershy thinks that over. Celestia has been around for a long time, not to mention her time alone when Luna was banished to the moon.
I guess I can understand.
Celestia notices she's putting a damper on the mood.
Though don't let an old mare talk about her past. How have you been doing? It's great. I love the garden with all the animals. I've also made good friends with Blue Blood. It's always nice to hear when my nephew makes new friends. Yeah. Princess? Do you mind if I asked a personal question? Sure. Is Blue Blood Luna's son?
Celestia can't stop herself as she laughs a bit at that. She understands where Fluttershy is coming from, but that's not the case.
I'm sorry for laughing, Fluttershy. It's just amusing to think my sister would bear a child. No, Blue Blood was adopted by me. For one reason or another, he called me his aunt, and since then, he was my nephew. Oh, so Blue Blood isn't really a prince? No, that's just a title he's quite fond of. Wow, there's so much that I don't know about him. We've talked a lot, but he doesn't really talk too much about himself. Just about the garden, Anon, or me. Blue Blood can be very shy when he first meets some pony. I usually don't like meeting new ponies either, but Blue Blood is very sweet.
A silence builds between the two of them as they eat their meals. It's not really awkward for either of them. Or, well, maybe a little awkward.
Fluttershy, may I ask a personal question of my own? Of course. What do you think of Anon?
That catches Fluttershy off guard.
To be honest, I don't know him at all. I've always wanted to get to know him, but after everything that happened in Ponyville, it never worked out. Though I'm happy that he's been as willing as he has to open up to me. It must be very hard for him to face his past, even if I wasn't the worst of it. Anon is complicated,
Celestia admits with a sigh.
It's hard for even me to know what's on his mind. Yet, when he looks at me, it's as if he can see right through me. I've never known a creature like him, other than Discord perhaps, though not for the same reasons. Discord uses his powers to manipulate others, while Anon uses it to guide them away.
Celestia closes her eyes.
He's come a long way from where he was. Maybe he doesn't see, maybe no pony else sees it, but I can. He's recovering slowly and starting to live his life. He does look awfully happy when you're around.
Celestia feels her heart flutter at hearing Fluttershy say that. For some reason, just hearing that makes her feel as if there's hot air in her chest.
Do you truly believe that?
Celestia asks. Fluttershy nods.
Of course! You and your sister are really important to him. I don't know if he says it, but I could see it when you three were together that one time. Well, we did have a bit too much to drink.
Celestia admits with a blush.
True, but Anon trusted you three enough to drink. I say that's plenty on how much he cares about you two.
What Fluttershy says is true. Anon does tend to let things play out more when he's with both sisters. Celestia still remembers when Anon would push them away and refuse to follow along with whatever they were doing. But now, he simply trusts them enough to keep his best interests and feelings in mind with what they do. Celestia feels an ache in her heart. It happens whenever she thinks of Anon when he's not around.
He means a lot to me as well. Before I met him, things weren't this complicated or fun. He's changed so much, not just himself, but both my sister and I as well. Even the ponies have changed, if only a little. It was not too long ago when seeing my sister sit on the throne was enough to stun any pony that walked in. Now, it doesn't even faze them.
Celestia looks at Fluttershy.
Anon may seem emotionless at times, but I swear to you that he feels more deeply than any pony could ever imagine. He's just too afraid to show it.
You're not a bad pony. What Anon said to her when he was intoxicated enters Fluttershy's mind.
I just wish I could get to know him as a friend.
Fluttershy admits.
Give it time. I'm sure Anon will be the one to approach you when the time is right. I hope so. He seems like a very interesting person. I mean...
She looks up at Celestia.
If you're his friend, he must be amazing.
Celestia feels a warmth on her muzzle.
Well, as odd as it may seem, I think what I like about him the most is who he is. I wouldn't want to change that for anything.
What you making?
Pinky asks as she peeks over the counter at Anon. A secret. Anon grabs a few things off of the counter and drops it into the pot.
I love secrets. So, what is it?
You'll find out in about 10 minutes.
Why so long?
Perfection has no time limit. Anon adjusts the flame so the boil is lower. He walks over to a cabinet and grabs a few more items. He sets them beside the pot and takes a second to think over how he'll present them to ponies. Sure, he can put it on a plate, but that just seems lazy. Not to mention, if this does end up being sold at the shop, then he needs to make it Earth Pony friendly. It's a constant thought that he has when creating new things for his customers to enjoy. If it's too hard for an Earth Pony to eat, then he doesn't make it. A spark of an idea comes to mind. He remembers those weird candy necklace things. He's sure if he keeps the rock candy small enough, it'll fit just fine. Not to mention, they can easily be carried and eaten by Earth Ponies. Anon takes some string out of the cabinet as well, while Pinky returns to her sister and the two other mares.
Anon looks concentrated.
Pinky remarks, as all four of them watch as he gives his full attention to what he's creating.
Yeah, he's thinking about how it'll be served to a wider range of ponies.
Bonbon says.
Why would he think that?
Maud asks.
Anon is always thinking of ways to make his products easier to eat.
Lyra comes in.
He knows it's hard for Earth Ponies to use things that unicorns take for granted, so if his sweets can't be easily eaten by Earth Ponies, then he tends to drop the item. That's rather considerate of him. He spent many hours reworking how we sell things. Even the bags we give to ponies can easily be carried by Earth Ponies. Honestly, I've never really given as much thought as he has.
Bonbon says.
So, what do you think he's making?
Pinky comes in.
Now that is something I can't answer. It could literally be anything. Whatever it is, it smells nice.
Lyra adds.
We should let him work. So what were you girls up to? I know Anon told me that you took him out to meet a friend. Is this her?
Bonbon looks over at the gray mare.
Yep, this is my sister Maud.
It's nice to meet you.
Bonbon extends her hoof to Maud.
Same.
Maud shakes hooves with her.
So, why are you two dressed so nice if this was just a meeting for friends?
Lyra comes in.
I made a reservation at a fancy restaurant. My sister's never been to a restaurant in Canterlot before.
Lyra can't help but feel a bit jealous. The thought of going out to a fancy dinner with Anon sounds great. She would be dressed in one of her silk dresses. She then looks up at Anon while he's still dressed in a suit. She feels a large blush on her muzzle as she covers her face. Bonbon can practically hear Lyra's thoughts as she just shakes her head and returns her attention to Pinky and her sister.
So, what else did you do? It's rather late. Did you go somewhere else? Pinky took us to a dance competition. We didn't win, but it was fun. Oh, I didn't know Anon could dance.
He's great at it.
Pinky speaks up.
I would say he could do it professionally if he wanted.
I wouldn't say that. Anon's voice breaks the four out of their conversation. I'm decent, but where I'm from, there's much better.
Are you done?
Pinky asks with excitement. Anon nods, holding something behind his back. Can you four close your eyes? They aren't sure what he's planning, but they do as they're told. Each of them can feel something being placed on their necks. Alright, open. When they open their eyes, they all look down to see a necklace of sorts made of candy. The candy itself was as clear as any gemstone, and yet they smelled of strawberry.
This is candy?
Bonbon hasn't seen something like this before. Anon can see that Lyra and Bonbon are surprised. But when he looks over at Pinky and Maud, he spots something else. They're both shocked. The weirdest part is that Maud's eyes are fully open, instead of her usual lazed look. Do you like them? Anon asks, unsure about their reaction.
Yeah.
Pinky is at a loss for words. Anon made them a rock candy necklace.
How did he even know how to do it?
Sure, it's not as extravagant as what Pinky and her sister make, but Pinky didn't even know he knew how to make this candy. She just thought it was a Pie Family recipe.
Anon, where did you learn to make this?
Maud asks. It's just one of the many things humans have made. Is it a bad thing? I know you like rocks, so I thought you'd like something like this.
It's great, it's just a bit surprising is all.
She looks up at him, her eyes back to the usual lazed look.
Pinky and I make rock candy too. Just, we make it for a different reason.
Anon has a feeling that it's personal. Oh, well, I hope you like them. I'm not sure how you and Pinky make them, but this was my first time making it, so I hope they turned out alright. Anon looks over to find Pinky is already eating hers with a large smile and tears running down her face.
It's so good!
Pinky compliments. Her eyes then snap open.
We should cook together sometime and I could teach you how we make rock candy!
So there's a difference. Maud nods.
Yes, I can tell that you used various sugars in place of rocks.
Rocks?
They are a special kind of rock. Edible. It adds a slightly different texture to the candy, but overall they are largely the same.
The same?
Pinky shouts.
Can't you taste the finesse, Maud? It's almost like I can taste every grain of sugar!
My palate was never as refined as yours, Pinky.
Well, I don't think it deserves that high of praise. Anon speaks out. I could probably improve it in a few areas.
No, wait, it tastes perfect!
Pinky insists. Anon doesn't know how to take these compliments, so he turns over to look at Lyra and Bonbon. What do you two think?
I agree with Pinky, they taste great.
Lyra says.
These would sell well with kids.
Bonbon adds. Anon looks over at a clock. It's starting to get late now, and these compliments are making him feel uncomfortable. Look at the time. You two should hurry back to your hotel before it gets too late. Maud looks over at the clock and takes note of the time.
You're correct.
She looks over at Pinky.
Let's go back.
Sure thing.
Pinky gets out of her seat, walks over to Anon, and wraps him in a hug.
Thanks again for meeting my sister.
Anon feels a bit uncomfortable, but settles a bit as he returns the hug. Yeah, it was fun. Now go and get some sleep. She lets go of him and starts walking towards the kitchen door.
Let's go, Maud.
Maud and Anon look at each other for brief moments.
Bye.
Maud says. Bye. That's all that needed to be said as she walks out of the kitchen with Pinky. Oddly enough, Anon noticed that she hadn't even eaten her necklace the entire time. Well, maybe she's just a shy eater. Anon looks back over to Bonbon and Lyra. Well, I'm tired. I'll be heading off to bed.
Just make sure it's not our bed this time.
Bonbon jokes. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. He walks behind them and gives them both a hug. Good night.
Good night.
They respond, just as Anon gets up and walks away. Pinky and Maud are back in the room getting ready for bed.
I never expected Anon to make us rock candy necklaces.
Pinky says, as she shimmies herself into bed.
That was a pleasant surprise.
Maud adds. Pinky looks over at Maud as she pulls out a small box, still wearing her rock candy necklace.
Why didn't you eat yours?
She asks.
I'll eat it later.
Maud adds. Maud opens the small box filled with her sister's rock candy necklaces. She takes the one Anon gave to her and also sets it inside. She closes the box and lays down in bed. This has been a great trip. However, there's still something else on Maud's mind.
So, Pinky, what happened between you and your friends?
Pinky lets out a sigh.
Well, it's a long story, but it started when Anon moved in with me. I didn't know it at the time, but my friends did some really horrible things to him.
Quite the good and wistful way to end a night. Definitely leaves quite a lot of questions for some characters, but even then, still a good night. Anyways, let's get on to our master crafters of donators. Top donators: Cat-gjf, Zar630, J10Man, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and IronSky. Darkside, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Rolan, Stu Hex, Swordbrother and Mordred, Omicron Library, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Ridesoul, Badass Waffle, Shadow Moon, Luigi88, Chancellor Crust, Big Smoke 369, and many more beautiful people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.